Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another bonus episode of Start Right Here, where we delve into the practical aspects of building your beauty career or your entrepreneurial journey. Today, we're going to talk about figuring out your goals. And before you do that, you have to figure out what you want. And today, we're going to talk about assessing your future and how to make a path forward with one of my favorite people. Marsha Haygood is a success strategist and leadership development speaker and expert. She is the co-author of the Little Black Book of Success, Laws of Leadership for Black Women. When I thought of these bonus episodes, the first person I wanted to have on here was Marsha, because she always has excellent insights. And when we initially talked about it, I thought we were going to talk about networking, but she touched on one of the things that she sees many of us struggling with when we try to figure out what we want to do next with our careers. So I'm excited to talk to Marsha about figuring out what's next. Welcome, Marsha.
Thank you so much for having me. It is always so great to speak to you, and I just love talking about career strategies. My goal, the legacy that I want to leave is to work with predominantly women of color who want to be both happy and successful. We run into so many challenges, both personally and professionally. And also, our self-limiting beliefs, because we've been dealing with microaggressions and systematic racism and just day-to-day challenges, that I like to bring it back to saying that we are worth far more than even we give ourselves credit for. So talking about success strategies for me is my joy in life. I've been through the mill of working in corporate America with people who don't like you, when you're the only, when, you're working harder, when you're not getting paid your worth. And I tell you, as difficult as that may be, it teaches you some lessons. It teaches you what not to do when you could back away from being emotional and being strategic about what you want in life. So it first starts with saying, what is it that you want? What does success look like for you? And so often I am talking to, again, predominantly women that say, I want to be successful. And then I say, well, what does that look like for you? Articulate your success and their
Yes. So,
and I say we owe it to ourselves to think about what we want and how we're going to get it, because we
today we're
deserve
going to
it.
talk about getting unstuck. But first, let's tell the audience a little bit about your background and your career journey, and how you became a career strategist, well, a successful strategist and leadership development expert. So where did you start, and how did you pivot into this?
My corporate career was that of human resources, and I started out at the, entry level mark out of college, starting in human resources, saying I like people and I want to help people, kind of thing. And although I always had that in mind, working in the corporate arena, and I worked primarily in entertainment, where everybody has an ego and everybody thinks they know more than you, that I had to learn, again, strategy. And I had to learn, and it's the number one thing that I think everyone has to learn, is how to listen and what to listen for. Because everything that someone says to you is a clue. It's either a clue how to help them, or a clue how to strategize to get around them.
And that second part is so important,
So
because we do have to learn that skill, and no one tells you that you need to learn that skill.
That's right. And so often, I mean, just in life, we listen to talk, not listen to learn. So when you can stop and back up and listen to learn, you will automatically move forward in some way. So either to help them or to move around them so that you can help yourself is important.
Yeah. How did
It's
you move from
important.
HR in entertainment to becoming
Hmm.
a career strategist?
I always knew that I wanted to work with people
Hmm.
who look like me. And when I was working in the entertainment industry, I was one of the only in a senior level position. I was the executive vice president of human resources and administration. And I really saw people making some avoidable mistakes. And I said, if in human resources, you can't always tell people what they should do that's going to get them out of trouble because you want to work with people and you want to help people, but you also have to
Right.
protect the company. So you're always straddling that line, which in itself teaches you strategy. But so I started doing coaching, working with people outside of my company that didn't
Right.
work for the company to sort of help them, listening to what they were going through and helping them. And I did that as a career coach, as my side hustle for many years, thinking let me build up the credibility to do it on my own. And I did that for several years and then had enough confidence to actually give my company 6 months notice and start my own company. And when I did that, I gave them 6 months notice. It allowed me to kind of spread my
Hmm.
wings a little more while I was
Right.
still working and under contract. And when I started my company, Stepwise Associates, I had a waiting list. That was, Corinne, that was, March will be 18 years.
Wow.
And I have not looked back.
That's amazing. You know, to
Yeah.
first to be able to give a company 6 months notice and they let you do that, and then
Uh-huh.
secondly to build the groundwork. I think this is a really important lesson for people who wanna be entrepreneurs, to set the groundwork for your business before you jump, so that you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
have a waiting list. You want to have potential customers before you leave your regular steady job, if at all possible. That's not always possible, but if you can, then that is an ideal way to set things up. Now,
Well, let me go back and tell you something about that, though. Because when I say I gave 6 months notice, I was under contract. So my 6 months notice wasn't, oh, I'm going to start my own company. The, the 6 months notice was, I'm not signing
ah,
another contract. So it's a little bit different that, I'm starting, okay, I'm leaving you because I'm
right.
going to do this. It's that I'm not signing another contract. Let me help you find my replacement, which I
Yeah,
did.
that's great. That's great. Now,
So,
you co-authored one of the most successful leadership guides
yeah.
for Black women, the Little Black Book of Success. And let's talk about how many printings this book has had so far.
Holy. The book is going into its 13th year. We have sold well over 60,000 copies of the book. And we are fortunate enough, and it was published by Random House, and that was a whole story in itself. And Random House has now contacted us to write another book. So we are in the midst of doing
So,
that as
side
well.
note, if you have never picked up a copy of Little Black Book of Success, this is the book that, gift that keeps on giving as a book. It is
Yay!
still relevant. I mean, it is relevant today and will be relevant in the future. And that's why it continues to sell. And Marsha did this along with Rhonda Joy McLean and Elaine Merrill Brown, three powerhouses in business, period. And who offer the guidance that we wish would have had when when they were starting out. They wish they probably had it. And people who are veterans in their industries all still, kind of turn to that because it still offers guidance to anybody at every level of their career.
I still go back and reread it.
I love mine is on my bedside table, I will tell you. What do you attribute its longevity to, though?
I think it's relevance. I think that the fact that it's a book that we wish we had, and it's a book that tells people that you are not alone. Oftentimes when we're running into these issues, we think we're the only ones. It's that terrible boss we have. Well, a lot of people have terrible bosses. It's that company that's not doing what they're supposed to do. Well, a lot of people work for those companies. But when you can put it into place and say, look, first of all, you're not alone. Second of all, there is help or guidance out there. It's your network, and we'll talk about networking there. And then, at the end of every chapter of this book, we do a couple of bullet points that we call mama-isms. And we say those mama-isms oftentimes are things that our mothers or our grandmothers or our big sisters told us, but they didn't put it quite in the perspective that we needed. I laugh when I look at some of those. When my mother used to say, "Don't you come out of that room until you fix your face." What she was saying is, put your neutral face on. Everybody doesn't have to know what you're thinking. But we didn't know it like that. So we got to work and somebody pissed us off and our face got just like it used to. It was when we were angry. Sometimes you have to, put on that neutral face because you want to get, I think that one of the things that we are learning now and we hear now that we didn't hear before is that we have to know our why. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but you have to listen. You have to pay attention to the people who are in the room, and you have to know why you're in the room and what you want to get out of it. And, people always start off with saying, I'm doing this because I want to get money. But I dare say money is only the motivator on payday. And those days that are not paydays, what's going to motivate you to go in and give it your best shot?
So let's talk a little bit about mindset. What's the first thing if we're thinking about talking about a successful career journey? Where do we need to begin from a mindset point of view?
It's a couple of things, but I like to say you can get selfish here. This is where you can really be selfish. What is it that I want? Why do I want it? And what am I willing to sacrifice to get it?
Okay, 3 essential questions, so say them again. That's 3 essential questions if you have to answer. Yes.
What do I want? Why do I want it? And what am I willing to sacrifice to get it?
Yes.
So if I say success is to leave a legacy, I say, why do you want to leave a legacy? You need to be able to say why, because I want to help women, be recognized and gain more visibility and all of that stuff. And what am I willing to sacrifice to get it? I'm willing to sacrifice not working at a corporate job where I'm going to make millions of dollars to do something that's going to feed my soul so that I can be happy all the time.
Yes, and so we're going to talk about mindset.
The what, the why,
the why,
and the
how. Yes, I love that. So there are a lot of people who believe, I'm going to try everything all at once, throw it up on a wall and see what sticks. Why is that not the best strategy in terms of approaching your career?
Well, you know what? I think that people will try it anyway, so I don't want
Right.
to say don't try that. If that works for you, because otherwise, as a coach, I have learned not to tell people what to do, but to offer some
Okay.
suggestions or options. Okay? So the option would be, if have you done that already, and has it worked for you? Usually
Right.
the answer is no, by the way. Okay? But you have to try it, because otherwise you think that you're going to be different and it's going to work for you. That's one. But I also say, why not start off with what brings you joy
Mm.
already? If when I say to people, when they say I hate my job, I say, well, what made you go there? What made you think that that job was going to be the big thing that you wanted? And they need to be able to explain that. I said, well, what did you like about it? Was it working outside? Was it working inside? Was it working in warm weather? Was it working in cold weather? Were you working around a lot of people? Were you working solo? Were you working with a computer? Were you working doing something with tools? What is it? And when you can get that granular with the things that you enjoy all your life, up until the point we're having that conversation, I say, let's put all of those things down that you enjoy. Let's document all those things that you enjoy. So if you're going to go and try something and hope that it sticks, how many of these things does it
Mm.
include? And you say one, I say, that's probably going to be a problem. If you say, ooh, this hits all of that, except I'm going to have to move to a different state, I say, that might be the sacrifice
Right.
part,
Right.
you know? So here's the what, here's the
Yeah, that's
why.
great. And
Look
and
through.
what's interesting about that
Sorry.
is that it brings to mind, do you like the concept or the idea of something or the actuality of it?
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
yeah, do I like
That's
the
right.
idea of being in the beauty industry because I don't know what it takes? Or do I know enough about what a particular job is to say I want to follow that course?
And if you say that you want to follow that course, then I say, who do you know
Mm.
that's doing that? Who do you know? And I talk about
Yeah.
networking a lot, because I think it's an opportunity that's often missed. But I think you have to think of who's doing what I think I want to do, or who's doing what I know I want to do, and how can I learn from them. I research people all the time. All the time, because I want to know what brought them to the point that they're at, that I'm
Right.
admiring them. Have they stuck with it? Have they said no? Can I give them a call? Can I follow them on social media? Can I follow them? Can I Google them? I said Google
Right.
is your friend. Follow, Google them. Can I put them on my Google alert or my Talk Walker
Mm-hmm.
alert, so that when something happens with them, it gives me the opportunity to reach
Right.
out to them. And I like to say this, when, so often I see people, they're just putting stuff on social media, and you're following them, but all you're hitting is the like button. That's not a real connection. It's a connection when you can say, I liked what you said, because this falls right into my values or my opinion. Love to talk to you more about it. Very different from
Right.
like button.
Right. So that's one of the ways then you can build a network that you're looking
Absolutely.
at people you admire, people who are doing the work that you want to do,
Yeah.
and gauging whether
Mhm.
they are approachable. But in the same way, finding ways to engage with them organically more than
Yes.
strategically with with your goal in mind, not trying to make a genuine connection. So there's a difference. Can we talk a
Right.
little bit about
Right.
that, like intent in terms of networking? So that's a
Mhm.
foundational point of networking.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
but intent, what is the intent someone should have when they're building their network?
A couple of things. I think that people you admire, that's an easy one. People who have already helped you, that's an easy one. People who you want to meet is a little more strategic. And so I start off with this sort of block of questions. Who do you know? Who do you need to know? And who needs to know you?
Yes.
Okay? So who do you know? Think about wherever you are in your circumstances right now. Who do you know who has helped you, given you a piece of advice, sent you an article, done anything, anything? And when's the last time you spoke to them? You know
Yes.
me, Corinna. I'm one who I will call people and say, I just thought about you and just wanted to say hello. I want to keep a connection going. I don't need anything from you. I don't want anything from you. I'm never going to make my first contact with you and ask, but I might end the conversation with, is there anything that I can do to support you? I'm going to tell you right now, more than half the people that you talk to can't come up with an answer to that. So it's not like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be overwhelmed. I'm so busy now. I'm just going to be more busy if I ask them. They usually can't, but it's a nice way to say I'm open to it. And maybe you can. Maybe it's something small. So that's
Right.
the who do you know. Say thank you. Say thank you to people who have helped you along the way. Who do you need to know? Those people who you admire, who you haven't yet met or don't know well, and what can you do to get to know them better? That's where you're looking at, all your alerts are, your Googles are. If I hear somebody say, when we were in corporate America, I'd like to go to people's office rather
Right.
than them coming to me. Now, I might be the more senior person, and I've heard this a million times. I'm not going to their office. I'm the more senior person. Let them come to me. It's like, no. I want to go to their office because I want to know, do they have art on the wall? Do they have children or a dog? What's their favorite color? What did they do on vacation? Because they have a picture in the front of their desk. Whatever it is, I'm going to learn something about them. And if they say something like, just came back from or getting ready to go to Italy because I love Italian food and it's going to be great. If you think that I'm not going to come back and Google an Italian recipe that I could say to them, you mentioned, I saw this recipe and I thought of you. You mentioned that you love Italian food. I'm done with that
Right.
conversation, by the way. But guess what? This I'm sticking
Yeah.
in their head. They say, "Wow, she was not only listening, but she took the time to do this." That's how you make connections. So that's who do I need to know, and who needs to know you, because they then say, "Wow, I know." Someone says, "You know what? We're looking for a speaker on such and such and such," and they say, "I know somebody because I was just
Right.
talking to Marsha."
Yes. Yes.
So who do you know? Who do you need to know? And who needs to know you should be the basis
Yeah.
for your
So when
network.
you think about networking, this brought to
Mm-hmm.
mind something from for for so there's networking and then there's mentor mentee relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people are not clear on how you establish that. So let's talk a little bit about that. Particularly, and I wanted to bring it up because both in the case of networking, when people who need to know you, and mentors,
Mm-hmm.
you might be asked what your goals are.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go
Yeah.
back to goals, so that when you start to establish this stuff, you
Mm-hmm.
have an answer for them.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And you
You
do
have
need
to
to
have
have
an
an
answer.
answer for
Don't
them.
start the
And
networking
you should say,
before you know what you want.
you know what? I think that's probably the first thing that people should do when they get off of this
Mm-hmm.
podcast is to start jotting down their goals. And they don't have to be big goals. I talk about goals in
Okay.
several stages. You know, what are immediate goals? What are some things I want to do? I want to network with some people. Okay, what's my short-term goals? I'm going to put them on my Google alert and look to see what they're doing already. What are my longer-term goals? I'm going to follow them on social media and to their I'm going to add something to what they say. What are my long-term goals? I'm going to befriend them and maybe buy them coffee and get to know them so that they can be my mentor or
Oh,
I can be theirs. Because I ask people who ask me, you know, first of all, I don't think you can ask
I
people to
don't
be
either.
your mentor because they're busy and they're doing things, and people will automatically mentor you when they like you and they see you and they respect
Yes.
you. So you have to put yourself in that spot. But I can tell you when I do mentor someone, I also ask them who they've mentored. And guess what? A lot of them will tell you, "Oh, I was just too busy." It's like, well, what did you think I was doing, sitting around? It's like, live what you
Ooh,
seek.
say that again. Live what you seek. That's deep.
Live what you seek. Yeah,
In
absolutely.
other words, don't talk about it, be about
That's exactly
it.
it. That's it.
So, in terms of establishing your goals, so we talked about short term, long term, but when we talk about career goals, let's talk a little bit about sacrifice before we go to the mentor situation. So,
Yeah,
willingness to
yeah.
sacrifice something. What does that mean?
That means if you want to be the best at something, that you're going to have to give up your time. Sometimes you're not going to get paid for what you do, and that you have to be willing to share something. It's
Mm,
not a one-way street. So if I say, you know what, I want to, I want to make this much money by the end of the year, then I can't be sitting home just watching television. I have to be doing something to make that money.
right.
That's the sacrifice. And I might be tired. We're going to have to work hard for what we want. And you know what? It determines how how much you want it by how much you're willing to give
Right,
up to get
right, right.
it.
I think that's very, very true. I had a guest, Melissa Hubert, who was on a couple of episodes ago, and she talked about her move from corporate to entrepreneurship, how she traded in her luxury car for a more practical car, didn't buy any clothes for a year, like just said, okay, this
Me
is
either.
how do I get for me to get back to where I was and the salary I was, I had to operate differently. If you want to get somewhere different in your career, I think similarly you have to operate differently. So, and sacrifice, you have to factor in the sacrifices
Absolutely.
that you're willing to make. I mean, I think it's challenging
Yeah.
when you look on social media and everybody seems to be a boss and, you know, all dressed up, and but you know what? Everybody's, if you're really really working for a goal, you are working hard and it's not always pretty.
And guess what? The people who are always on social media telling you that and showing you that's not true. Don't believe them. Don't believe them. Don't believe them for a moment. But I say, when I got ready to leave the corporate arena, one of the things several things that I thought about, I had to come up with what
Ooh.
frightened me about leaving the corporate arena. What frightened me? My
Mm-hmm.
paycheck was pretty good. My title was pretty good. I had good perks. All of those things. And so money is
Yes.
usually one of them. And money not because you're being greedy, but you need to eat and pay the bills and do all of those things. So the first thing that I say, if money is something that worries you, you're not going to make the money to eat. That's very different. But does everyone have to have 125 channels on their television? No. Do they have to have 30 pair of shoes in their closet? No. So one of the things that I did was bought one of those big
Mm-hmm.
clothing racks, and I stopped shopping for
Ah,
a year. I stopped shopping. And what I would do is I would take things out of my closet and hang it on the rack. And all of a sudden you'd say, oh, I forgot about that jacket. Oh, that jacket goes with those pants. Oh, I forgot about that blouse. And I made new outfits from what was already in my closet.
yeah.
So the sacrifice was no shopping for a year. And then I started to put more money away so that I'd have more money if I wasn't going to make money when I started to be an entrepreneur. Because you don't come out of corporate America and become an entrepreneur and automatically
Right.
become wealthy. Doesn't
Right.
quite happen like that. You're the CEO in the morning and you're the janitor in the evening. And you might not have gotten paid for either one
This
of
is
those
so
jobs.
true. This is very, very true. It's sometimes, yes, absolutely. And also, this is also true, the
Yeah.
money thing, when you want to pivot careers. People who want to pivot into beauty that have not had the opportunity to work in it, and they
Mm,
may be giving up a a salary that they had in their previous career for something less.
right.
But if you really want it, are you
Yeah.
willing to sacrifice that? Is the question.
Yeah, and most people say, I'm not going to take a cut and pay. And I'm saying, you know what? Then you're not willing to sacrifice what you make. You may
Right.
not have to take a cut and pay. But guess what? Do you even know how much money you need that's going to sustain you? So when people tell me they want to make a change, if they have not made a budget, I tell them let's make a real budget. Let's make a real budget because there's certain things that you can do. There's probably some money that you're spending that you say, "Oh, I didn't know it cost that much because you have it
Right.
on auto pay or do I really need that anymore and do I have to have that anymore?" So you get real. And when you get real, there's some things that you can cut down, and you may not be able to cut down a lot. But if you're going to take a cut and pay, at least you know what you're taking a cut and pay, and it's not going to make you miss a
Right.
meal. So you have to get real with that. That's the sacrifice.
Yeah, that's a real sacrifice. So what I want to talk about living our best lives, right? So what hinders us from living our best lives?
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, such a great question. I think a couple of things that come to mind right off the bat. I think limiting self belief, lack of planning, fear. It's uncomfortable. Not wanting to step out of your comfort zone, wondering what people are going to say. The fear. I, you know, I, it's and 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 other people's opinion.
Yeah.
You know, I was an executive vice president at a major entertainment company. When there is nothing, but when there's no comma, nothing behind the comma behind your name, there are going to be some people who you will never talk
Yeah.
to again.
Very, very true.
Are you ready? Are you ready? You
Yeah.
must be ready for that. You must prepare, and it
Yeah.
takes some preparation. You don't say it today and then tomorrow you're okay. It's like wow. I think I had 4 or 5 things that frightened me. Money was one. I could prepare for that. That's the clothing on the rack and the no more shopping. Benefits was
Yes.
another one because benefits are very expensive and you don't know how much they cost if you've been working in the corporate arena because you're just used to going to the doctor and then showing
Right.
your insurance card. You have to go to the doctor because self-care is so vitally important. So I say before you quit your job, go to the doctor and have all your physicals first of all. But when you go this time, find out how much things cost because you don't know what a mammogram costs. All you know is you gave your insurance card. You don't know what other things that you get done, your blood work costs, because you've been given an insurance card. Find out what those things cost. And then, because that's part of your budgeting, and then you decide whether I want to buy a full medical plan, pretty expensive but doable, or whether I'm going to self-fund going to the doctor and just buy a major medical plan in case I get hit by a bus.
Yes.
There's a difference in cost. So you want to plan that out. That's part of the planning process. So money, benefits. The third thing for me was technology. I don't do it well. I don't understand it. I don't particularly like it. So I want to know, I'm going to have to, and it's not going away.
Right.
It's only gotten to be more. So I can't dump it. So I either have to do it, learn how to do it, or pay and delegate it. So do it, dump it, or delegate it. Which one am I going to do? And I said, I have to delegate it. So how much is that going to cost me? Part of my budget again. Okay? So that's that. The next one was giving up some perks. Man, I had some great perks. I'm in the entertainment industry. I'm flying first class. I'm going to the Oscars. I'm talking to the stars. Gone. Gone. They're gone. All of that gone. No more first class. Now back in the back again. Plane got me the same place, but I'm not flying in the same section anymore. Not when I'm starting out in my company. You might get there later, but you're not going to be there immediately. So you worry about. So that was another one. I had to be ready for that. That's a psyche. That's a mindset. And then just know that some people who you always thought were your friends, you just never hear from.
Got to be okay with that. That's a hard one, but it's a real one.
It is.
Right. So
it's a real one. You have to be okay with that. So knowing the difference
between an industry acquaintance and a friend. So true for entertainment and very, 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 very true for beauty. And similarly in beauty, from the editorial side, getting free product and going to all those nice restaurants and press trips was a hard thing to let go of, but it's hard, difficult.
But you have to.
Difficult adjustment.
There again is adjustment. There again is sacrifice.
Exactly. But
it is.
Yeah, but it is. It's understanding. If the goal, if this is truly your goal, then it'll be worth it in the end, because then you're replacing it with the things that you want. So this is when we're talking about living our best life. Our best life may not have been those perks, even though we like them.
That's exactly right. And I have to just say something. I just thought of this just now. I read a book, which I love, little skinny book, and it's called God on a Harley. And it's about this woman who talks about wanting to do something more. She wants a better life. And she meets this guy who says to her, well, why aren't you doing it? And she says, because I live in this great building. I live in this apartment building that has a gym and a pool, and it's on the water, and I just love it. And he says, when's the last time you went to that pool? And she said, well, I haven't been to the pool because I've been working too hard. He said, do you like your job? And she was like, not really, but I go there. And he said, well, when's the last time you've been to this? And he starts asking her all the things that she's saying, and she said, he finally says, what do you really want to do? And she says, I really want to live on the beach. He says, quit the job, find a job by the beach, and go to the beach. And you don't have to be in that building with the pool that you never go to, and the gym that you haven't been to, and looking at the lake that you haven't looked at because you're working all day. So by the time you get home, it's dark, and you can't see the lake anyway. And all of this, and it's God telling her, come on, you can live your best life. You are what's keeping you from living your best life.
A lot of us are standing in our own way. But
all the time,
by not
all the
like
time.
digging deep in terms of looking at
Yeah,
what we want. So, so let's talk again.
yeah.
So we have the goals and we have the career goals and companies that we're looking at. What are the best
Hmm.
ways to approach a job shift if you want to change, pivot?
Oh, I love this question, and because people don't think of this. First of all, and this goes right
Right.
back to my human resource days. Okay, I think that if you're not going in the entrepreneur arena and you're going to go for another job, that you should research the same way you research people. You should research, I say,
Okay.
5 to 10 companies. 5 to 10. This is a lot of work. This one is a lot of work. So you research 5 to 10 companies that you really want to work for, and you apply to the company, talking about some things you've learned about the company, like looking at their mission statement, using some of those words, hearing what some of the senior people at their company do or what they say, putting that in a letter and sending it to I say the department that you're interested in, and I also like sending it higher than that. So it might be the CEO. CEO used to bring me down resumes and said, "I got this resume, but why don't you see them? It looks pretty good." Okay, nobody knew, but then you saw that person, and then you got a thing,
Right.
a leg in, and you don't apply for the job when a job is open. Only you apply to the company that you want to work for before
Mm.
the job is open. You want to know why? Because when the job is open, then you have to fit every one of the requirements, one, and two, they're in a rush and you got all of these competitors applying for the job too. When you just send the resume and say, "I'd love to have an exploratory interview with you," I may have some free time and call you in because your resume looks good. I don't have a job for you,
Right.
but your resume looks good, so I'll see you anyway. I say you do that with 5 or 10 companies you really want to work for, you will be
Yeah.
working for one of them. I guarantee it.
That's good. So you have to be willing to sacrifice that time and that research, do the work. It.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
and that's
lot
a
of
lot
work.
of
So
work.
if you want to switch careers, it's not going to
Yeah.
be an easy. And we talk. I mean, I've been talking in several of these bonus episodes about the pivot and the challenge in the pivot. But I think that this is some practical groundwork that you can do in your downtime. If you have downtime
Yeah.
to build.
Wait a minute, wait. Not when you had downtown. You always have downtown. You're just doing something else that you thought was more important. When this becomes important, you you will do it. When it becomes important enough to you,
Yes,
trust me, you have
that's
time.
very very true. So so you do that, and then what is the key to so I'm thinking so you've accessing your network for introductions. How do you do that
Yeah.
without without seeming
Depend.
kind of overzealous and kind of crossing boundaries?
I'm real careful not to ask my network necessarily to do an introduction for me if they don't
Hmm.
know me well enough to put their to lay
Right.
their chips on the
Exactly.
line for me, to lay their reputation on the line. But I also think that so often what we don't do is tell people clearly what we're looking for. So when you can say, "I am looking for a position in the beauty industry, I love this particular product, and I'd love to be able to share with these people something that I learned about it because I, this
Right.
is really important to me. This is an important goal of mine." When you do that, you haven't asked them for anything other than saying, "Well, so if you know of anyone like that, please just keep me in mind." Rather than, "Can you introduce me to Corinne because she's in the beauty industry and I want to be on her podcast so I can tell people what I know?" Nope. You want to do it a different way. And some things will come to you and some things won't. But then those same people that you're sharing that
Mm-hmm.
information with should be able to see how
Right.
important it is to you. So if you say, I want to be in the beauty industry, but then you always look like a rag doll, they're not going to introduce you to the people they know.
Very true. Very true. Or if you look like you're
So
collecting
dress
people
the part.
for the sake. I mean,
That's right.
that is a pet peeve of mine,
That's
that
right.
for folks who collect other people just to have them in their stable because they're,
Hmm.
you know, it looks good for them. It's not necessary. It's not genuine. So
That's right.
that bothers me.
That's right.
But when we talk about um, our thoughts around success, because I think that a lot of times when we thought successful, we thought title, money, right? But what ways can you offer some tips on reframing success for our audience?
Mhm. Mhm. The thing that comes to mind right away for me, and I tell you, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm living my best life, is
Yeah,
being
let's talk a little
happy.
bit more about the happy
Is
factor, though.
is I want to be happy
Mm-hmm.
and joyful, because when I can do that, when I can be happy, joyful, grateful for things, and that's part of it. Part of being happy is going back and looking at the things that you are blessed with, that you haven't even given thought to. And it's funny because I heard a pastor, no longer alive, who said years ago, and I quote this often, if you can't be grateful for what you have, be thankful for what you
Yes,
avoided.
absolutely.
Because it could have been a lot different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I say start there. What makes you happy? What brings you joy? And you can't be joyful if you're around a whole bunch of negative people who are always talking about who did them wrong. So right away, I'm saying when I'm talking about who you know and who you need to know, it may be time to purge some people. And guess what? Some of those people that you're purging
Mm.
may be family. And guess what? What are you
Right,
willing to
right.
sacrifice? I'm gonna keep coming back to that.
Yes.
You just have to. You just have to. But you need to be selfish with your self
Ha,
care.
that is a beautiful thing. Just thinking about that. So, happiness, selfish with your self
Yeah,
care. What are some?
yeah. You cannot give from
Yeah.
an empty cup. You can't. You don't have it. You don't have it. So you want to think about those things that bring you joy, and you want to. And I say this often. I put up four fingers and I say, take time to think. Sometimes we're so busy being busy, not productive. We're just
Yes.
busy being busy, that we haven't given thought to some key questions. What makes us happy? What does success look like? Where do I want to be a year from now? What are some of the barriers that have kept me from getting what I want? Who are those people who give me joy? Who are those people who take it away?
Whew.
These are key questions that we don't need anybody with us to do. And I'm almost sure, Corinne, that you were on my list 2 years ago, because every July I do a self
Yes, I
assessment.
was.
And yeah, and every other year, so 2 years ago in 2021, but every 2 years, I've been doing it for about 11 to 12 years, I actually send out a little questionnaire. And that questionnaire says, what do you think my strengths are? What do you see as my strengths? What do you see are things that I need to improve? What do what are the adjectives that you use to describe me? What are some things you think I could do differently? And I send it out to people. And these are not just people I work with. I send it to family members. I send it to my next door neighbor. I send it to people. get feedback, and then there's no argument about it. There's no dispute about it. You just hear what people have to say, because that gives you some thought process around what could be possible
Right.
blind spots, and it gives you some things that you can. I think that you should. People say work on those weaknesses and get better. I don't necessarily agree with that. I say work on your strengths so that they become so damn strong nobody can negate them.
Right.
So keep your strengths strong, and then don't get good at what you have no business doing.
Listen, can you say something more about that?
So you will
I
never
mean,
see.
because that goes that just reminds me of so much of the big leap and the genius zone and your zone of incompetence. You know,
Hmm.
like
That's
why are
it.
you in the
Yeah.
zone of incompetence and competence? Why are you working there?
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
why are you staying there?
Why are
You
you
might
working
need
there?
to be there
Yes.
because there are some things. I mean, the idea of that there are things and that for all of us that we are just not good at, and understanding that we are
That,
not good at that and being okay with that is what delegation is for when necessary, if that's part of your job,
that's it.
and or that is what kind of like advanced learning, continuing education is for if you
Yes.
want to get good at it.
Absolutely. 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 But cannot, you can't just sit where you've always been and expect that you're just going to move forward naturally. I used to say this to people working in human resources when they said, I want a promotion or I want a raise or I want to be the boss because I've been here for this amount of time. Say, yeah, and you got a paycheck for all that time you were here. That doesn't mean you're a good boss. That doesn't mean you warrant a promotion. It means you came to work and you got paid for coming to work. What you going to show
Right.
that's different?
Right. So that goes back to you have to have a goal. So, and you have to
That's
know
it.
what you
Exactly
want.
right.
Because
Yeah. And you have to be able to
yes.
demonstrate it.
So,
Yeah.
so these are like it may seem simple to a lot of people, but this practical advice is really really helpful when you're just in the midst of a career crisis and you're trying to figure out what you're doing next. Like, so you
Yeah.
can't go after the
Yeah.
mentor. You can't apply for the job if you don't know if you have not asked yourself these fundamental questions.
That's right.
Yeah. So I love this.
So develop some fundamental questions and then answer them
Truthfully,
truthfully. You don't
right?
have to share them with anybody. They're yours, but they should help develop your mindset. And so often we think because we've never done it before, we can't, or because we're the only that we don't want to. Sometimes, someone has to start the process. So if you really have the desire, that's your why, then I say go for it. Try it. And guess what? Even if you fail, you will learn something from it. But we must take some prudent risk
Ooh,
to be successful.
and that's where we got to end it. It's time to take some. Be willing to take some risks. Because nobody's gonna come
That's
rescue
right.
you.
That's
Well,
right.
Marsha, I can't thank you enough for this conversation. I think it would be so helpful, not just for people who are in beauty, who want to be in beauty, but people who are looking to change careers, to try entrepreneurship. It is a framework to move forward and get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Corinna, I share these kind of tips on when I send out newsletters and stuff. So people who are interested should join my mailing list. It's my name, MarshaHaygood.com. Join my mailing list. I send these tips out all the time, and something
Right.
may spark you. You may not have gotten it on here, but you'll hear something or see something on my newsletter that says, oh, I could try that, or whatever. And I think that people should do that. That's again
Right,
another way
right.
to
So
network. So
your newsletter is sign up on marshahaygood.com. Where can people follow you
yes,
on social?
on social they can follow me my on LinkedIn. They follow me by my name again. On Instagram, it's Ask Marsha H. But you can always find me. And if you couldn't remember any of that and you only remember my name, Google me. It'll tell you all of those things. It'll tell you, yeah, find her here and find her there. I put out what I think and what I hear, and I would love my personal goal is to help people be as happy and as successful as I have been. I've been blessed. So I'd love to be able to bless
That
others
that's a
by
that's
sharing
a
these tips and
wonderful,
strategies.
wonderful goal. But lastly, let's not forget the book,
Yeah.
The Little Black Book of Success. And where can people get that book?
On Amazon, I, the Little Black Book of Success, Laws of Leadership for Black Women, and the
Yes.
companion workbook. The Little Black Book gives you pointers. It starts off, always consider yourself a VIP. Know that there's a game and accept that you must play. What other people have to say, it's those things. It's
Right.
40 laws of leadership. And that talks about things. And then the workbook says, "Oh, have you experienced this? How did you handle it? Now that you know, would you still handle it the same way? What would you do differently?" So, a mentor in your pocket is the book, and your personal call to action
Yeah.
is the workbook.
So you have so Marcia has not only given us some tips, she's also given us some tools that we can use. Her newsletter, the book. So avail yourself of any and all of these things if you're serious about finding success
Yeah,
in whatever that means for you. Thanks
yes,
again, Marcia.
absolutely. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
That's our show for today. Follow Start Right Here on Instagram at start_right_here_podcast. And check out the Last Word newsletter for my latest musings on beauty and inclusion.